guys, it's Josh from KDM Tuners again today, and we needed to install a limited slip differential onto one of the projects that we're doing. And instead of taking this to a transmission guy, which is always a great idea, we figured it would be a good opportunity to film a video and show you guys how to basically take apart a transmission and get to the differential. And with any luck, we'll have an installed Quaife differential. It's going to be a doozy, so I haven't quite tapped into one of these things yet on this car. We did some Honda stuff back in the day, but not one of these Hyundais. It looks pretty straightforward, should be easy, so we'll just go through the motions, film what we're doing, and maybe you guys will learn something from it. Maybe we'll learn something from it. Maybe we'll fail epically. I don't know, but if we do fail, we'll load it back up in the Jeep and we'll drop it off over a tranny guy, and he'll probably have this thing done in a couple hours. So, but yeah, so just jump into this thing and start tearing it apart and see what we can get into. So let's get into this thing. All right, so first thing we're gonna do on this transmission is we gotta pull this little guy off here. And we already did that a couple days ago, just playing around with this thing. What you want to do is make sure this unit is in neutral before you pull these out. There's going to be four bolts that hold this plate in, and they use some black RVT around the sealant areas to seal this in place. So you're going to pop all that off. It's kind of hard to get off. You just kind of get a screwdriver in here and find a spot to pry on, and just like the way we'll pull the case or open the case later, you just pop the whole thing off. And it's in there pretty tight, but it'll slide out. So all this has to line up when you put it back together. So you'll see. But we'll get this out of the way for now. So that would be step one. Go ahead and put that over there. The next thing is we're going to remove, there's 3 bolts here, 1, 2, 3, and then the sensor here. We got to pull these out. There's actually I guess a bearing ball, I guess you'd call it, or something on the bottom side of these with a spring. So these lock some things in place we got to take out. And this is the same thing. There's like a little ball bearing in there that holds, but that doesn't come out. So next up, we'll take these out, and then from there, once these 3 or 4 plugs are out, we'll go around and pull all the tranny bolts, the case bolts, which are 14 millimeter, I believe. And then we just got to find a way to split the case and find a spot that we can pry on to pop it up. So let's go ahead and you know, it looks like there's a couple bolts inside the bell housing, so we'll have to flip that out. We'll get the bolts out from the bell housing first after we get these 3 plugs out, and then we'll pull all these off. So let's get these 3 out. All right, so with these 3 bolts, they're 19 millimeter, so we can get our breaker bar on here, crack these off. So get some leverage on these. These are in there pretty good. Let's crack all these loose, and then we'll get another wrench to ratchet them off real quick. Alright, so let's get them all loose there. Let's get a big ratchet to get those off with. See if we can now on other transmissions, I know that these balls, you kind of have to get a magnet to get them out of there. Looks like they used Loctite on this, but on these ones, the ball bearing sits inside the plug itself, so it's all one unit, which is kind of neat. So other transmissions, that ball is just flopping around in there. So let's get all 3 of those out. If you guys need to know how to pull the transmission off the car, you can refer back to our video of the clutch install. We'll put that in the link for you guys. Okay, that one's, yeah, they definitely used a Loctite type situation, or material, I should say. hop right over to this sensor here. You can use a crescent wrench or anything that you might have. It happens to be a 24 millimeter. I use a 24 millimeter deep socket. Stick it on there, and we'll rip this off with our pry bar. There we go. So see, that one has a ball bearing in there too. So put that aside there. And then what we're going to do is kind of flip this transmission on its side. And I just noticed as I was looking at it, there's a couple bolts that go on the inside of the bell housing. So we'll slide this over and get that out. So in the bell housing, what we did already is took out the slave cylinder and the throwout bearing. That's this guy here. So that's these 3 bolts. We just put those back in its place so we don't lose those. So we pull that off. And it looks like we got, it's going to be hard to see in there, so let me get a flashlight. All right. So looking inside here, look at that thing's pin is just floating in there. Gotta take that out. All right, so we got 1, 2, 3, 3. So I'm going to go ahead and use an impact and get those out. You can use 14 millimeter with the extension on there. I'll try to get it out with the impact, but we'll see if this impact might not be strong enough. Our compressor isn't running yet, so Alright, so we got those 3 bolts out, and then we'll tip the transmission back over on its end again. So if you guys have a super clean transmission, you can go ahead and mark these bolts so you know where they all go. These ones are dark black from soot on there from the clutch, so we'll know where those go. But I keep everything in a tray and makes it easier. So let's go ahead and flip this back on its end. Go. I think one thing we're going to do real quick is going to pull the drain plugs off. I have them loose already, but we'll just get them out of the way. I don't know if they're going to be necessary to life as far as pulling this off. Probably not, but they're already loose, so we'll just go ahead and take those off for now. And then what we're going to do is just go around. I loosened 2 just playing with it. So I'm just going to go around and pop all these off real quick with my impact. Again, all these are the same size. I'll spin this around real quick and take a look, make sure we didn't miss anything there, and everything looks good. So now we're gonna get all our tools out of the way here. And I think, not yet. Let's go. Now what we're gonna do here is try to find a place to pry on. So I noticed on this transmission, and I don't have a tool to do this, but it looks almost like this was designed to put some kind of wedge tool in there, but I do have something that might work, but we'll try it. Back to pry bars. So I know there's some locations in here. We can either probably put some kind of wedge in here. We got a little bit of a spot right here that looks like we can wedge on. We just don't want to crack anything, so that's it. Pop goes the weasel. And then we just want to kind of go around, wedge everything there. And next step up was going to be go ahead and we're going to lift this case completely off. Slide this thing over. And we look like we're loose, so let's go ahead and pull this completely up and see what's inside. Okay, so let's pull this off here. It's going to go straight up. I don't think anything's going to fall out, but here's your case. And no idea what the fuck that thing is there, but there it is. Alright, so let's see. I'm gonna looking in here to see. We got a bearing cap housing in here that's gonna live there. And a bearing housing here for this guy. Now I don't know. This is the bearing that's on the differential. Let's get the case out of the way. We don't need this for now. Alright, so our differential sits on this bad boy here. These bearings, I was told, are plastic housings. However, this bearing is a metal bearing. So I'm not sure why. We did one of these on another R-Spec. Actually, no. Hamza's not an R-Spec. So right off the bat, I'll tell you the R-Spec transmission has better bearings in it than the standard transmission. Standard transmission off the standard cars use a plastic bearing. So as you see, we bought the TimKen bearings to replace it with, but it looks like it's already got the same bearing in it, so that's pretty cool. Anyways, this bearing doesn't go with that. We gotta put a new bearing on the new differential anyways. But moving forward, enough is enough. We need to remove this whole selector unit here. And I want to say to do that, we had to remove a bracket, but I don't know how to get to it, so bear with me here. Go ahead and remove this guy. I'll move this bearing out of this gear out of the way. So it just pulls up. Just keep note of how all these go in. It's a good thing we're filming it, so if I get lost, I'll look back at the film. But we need to get these torque bits out of here. So there's 3 of them that hold them in. We need to pull all these out. So we'll just one at a time systematically pull this apart. Let's pull this unit out first. So it looks like 12 millimeters. And I want to say I would normally use an impact on stuff, but let's not use an impact on this stuff right now. So pulling that off, I'm going to go ahead and call that. Let me see how many pounds this is. It's probably about 20 pounds pressure on this guy. So when we put that back in, we'll snug that up to 20. I kind of looked around as much as I could to get the spec sheets on these trannies, but no luck. So we're going to do everything by braille and freak everybody out that's watching this. All right, we'll pull that selector out. There's a ball in the selector unit. I don't know if you can see that in there. But that sits right in this little groove when we put this back together. So keep that all together. Now we're getting somewhere. I think this whole selecting unit comes out, I thought, by itself as a unit. I think it does, so. Now I know the bearings, everyone, when I see stuff online and all that, I always see people packing bearings with grease. I don't see these being packed with grease because it sits inside the transmission fluids, and the transmission fluids is what's going to actually lube these bearings up, so probably won't mess with that. But now we need to get these selector arms out. I want to say the whole unit probably comes out together, but I need to get in here. All right, so what we got to do is there's these 3 pins that hold the rods. What we're trying to do is get these rods out of here. There's 3 pins that hold these rods into place. We're going to go ahead and punch those out, see if we can't pull those dowels out. I don't know if this is a wise choice to do it this way, but that's what we're going to do. And then we'll go ahead and put the roll pins back in when we're done. Let's see how easy these are to get out first. Not easy. The fuck? It's a magnet. So in the transmission, we found a lucky charm. This is a magnet that sits in a little magnet housing to collect all the debris and shards that come off your gears. So yeah, it's pretty weird. Cool, huh? So, all right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I got to figure out how to remove these selector switches or selector arms or gear selectors or whatever you want to call them out of here. So small interlude while I try to figure this out, and then I'll explain what I did when I figure it out. I'm confused. So the way to get these rods out is there's a roll pin that holds these suckers in, and we got to pull the roll pins out. There's 4 of them, so there's one here, here, and here. And here's what the pin looks like. So we got to pop those out, and then when we put it back together, we'll put those in place. So keep a hold of those. And what we found is to do this, I think this one was, this roll pin. I'm not sure exactly how to get it out yet. Because once you start trying to bang it out this way, I don't think there's any way anywhere it can go out the back side of that thing. So I'm trying to see. Oh, it looks like there's a hole that might go through. It's hard to see in there. Well, what we'll do is we'll take this one off first. We'll see how it goes here. So we got that pin out of there. Anyways, all right. So what we got is I got an 1/8 inch punch, and I got a 3/16. Got me a little brass hammer. I'm gonna punch it through the other way, all the way straight through. So we'll start it with this guy. Just give it some taps with this one. I'm sure there's a tool for this. Is that your car? All right, we'll switch over the 1/8 inch deal, and we're just going to kind of pick an edge here and tap it out. So boogered it up a little bit there, but it's coming out. That one came out. And there's a roll pin. They said it would be easy. Let's just keep getting these pins out, see what happens. So we like to use this guy. We're just gonna hit it. There's probably some special tool to do this, I'm sure. So if you guys are aware of that tool, go ahead and let us know. So it'll be a lot easier next time. Just a little punch will get this one to start it. Got it budged a little bit there, and then we'll finish it off with this one. That's super sketchy. Everything in my being tells me not to pound on it, but I've been told this is okay. That sucked. It went off into the abyss. All right, so got all these pins out, and haven't figured out why we have to remove the roll pins on these guys yet, but what we're gonna do is shift all the levers up and down. So this third one right here, you want to press it all the way down. So this one goes all the way down until it clicks. And then this one you want to go all the way up. Oh, I'm sorry, all the way down. Down like that. And then this one you want to go all the way as far up as it will go where it's at now. And that will give you enough clearance to push this last pin out that way. So we're going to go ahead and tap this pin out. So let's get it started. Alright, we're going to lift this up. And we're just going to go ahead and get it going. Okay, I gotta make sure all the gears are there. Didn't quite clear it. So I just gotta have to shift this around so we get it into its position to where it clears. So up, down, that one's down all the way. There we go. Now they'll sit there so we can get this out. As you can see, we bottomed out there. So I don't think that roll pin was a wise decision to move there. So we got that roll pin nice and pinched in there on accident, so not sure how we're going to get that resolved later. I think we didn't need to remove that roll pin. But maybe this will spin. There we go. Shoo! This spins around and around and around we go. So we'll get that out a little later. So that's one selector. We want to make sure all this stuff stays together. So we're going to pull this off, set it aside. Forks. I don't know. Pitchforks. Selector forks. So now we just got to maneuver these around till we kind of massage that up into there. Pull that off. And I'm assuming this one is kind of in there. So pull that whole shaft out. And this comes straight off like this. So we're going to put it back in the hole the way we had it. And keep that there. Next up, what we'll do, come right back, is pop these four out. And we'll pull this bracket out. Once we pull this bracket out, we pull these gears out as one unit and set them down. So, alrighty. Next up, in order to get to the differential itself, we need to pull these gears out. In order to pull these gears out, I know from previous videos from different cars and from working on Honda stuff that this bracket has to come out. This happens to be a T40 Torx bit. So let's go see. I don't know how tight these are going to be in here. So let's give it a shot. They're in there tight. So let's get the breaker bar out. Just see if we can even get this breaker bar in here. Breaker bar is not going to work, so what we'll do is get our torque wrench out, and this is a big no-no to pull these off or loosen anything with the torque wrench, but that's what we got. So I don't know. Let's see. Let's reverse this thing and see how tight these are torqued down so we can take notes. We got 4 chances at this. This is going to be 53 pounds. Didn't click. So it's going to be less than 53 pounds. So let's go down to 45 on this one. This is not terribly accurate, but it'll give me a ballpark of what the torque is on these things. So we want this thing to click. Nope. So probably let's go down to our last shot at this. So let's go down to 30 pounds. Let's see if we can't get this thing to click. Nope. So these aren't going to be quite 30 pounds. So I'm guessing 25 pounds. And my assumption is anytime we get a Torx bit type deal, they usually use some kind of Loctite on there. So we'll look at the threads and see what we got here. And I don't see any signs of thread locker in there. Oh yeah, so there's a little bit, probably some blue Loctite. Yeah, it's blue Loctite, I can see it already. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll probably torque it down to 25 pounds with some blue Loctite. And we'll call that good. Just be careful when you guys are doing this not to strip these things out. I wish I could say to you guys I know exactly what I'm doing on this transmission, but I am not a transmission guy by any stretch of the imagination. But the point of this video is more so just to show that anyone can do this. Don't be afraid to work on your own car. You know, this is all something, there's plenty of videos out there that can help you with other cars and give you an idea of what you need to do. They're all somewhat similar in a lot of ways. So, and hopefully this video will help you guys a little bit. You can see what we messed up on and had struggles with. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this bracket off. The only purpose of this bracket is to hold the shaft and everything in the gears there. So this actually holds the input shaft. This is the input shaft. It goes all the way through the bell housing. So these two units come straight up. They're kind of heavy. Caught on something here. Let's switch some gears. One minute, please.
This isn't gonna move, right?
It was gonna want to come out, but it shouldn't. That's the diff. It seems like it sits in there, so. Holy. That's heavy. I mean, not like unbearably heavy, but for what I was thinking, it's rather heavy. So this is our deal. We got to pull this gear off, and this gear gets mounted onto the new differential. Now there's some shimming involved. So I'm going to go ahead and measure everything with a micrometer and whatever I can to find out if we have the exact same size, and if we have to put some shims in there, how to go ahead and do that. But first of all, we want to get this gear off. It probably would have been better to torque these off while all the gears were in there, so lesson learned. But what I'm going to do is just kind of see if I can get them cracked on this. The answer is no. All right, so this is our standard diff. It's all made out of cast with a pin pressed into it. You got all your gears that rotate in there. This thing somehow manages to hold 500 horsepower, but not very strong versus something that's machined. So we got a new gear, new bearings that will go onto the new unit. That will be all pressed on. You got to get these off. We know that they're more. We tried using the Matco on it. That will get us 90 pounds. They're more than 90, so we had to break out the earthquake. And we're in between compressors right now, installing a new compressor. So I had to break out a little tiny, like 2-gallon compressor, and let's see if that'll work. I don't know if this, make sure this is the right size here. I'll just attempt an 18. No. So these are 19 millimeters. And let's just give it a go and see what we got. Okay, we got that off there, and here's our two differentials side by side. Just sitting on the bench, they seem to be pretty damn close in size. But we're going to go ahead and mic them. This one looks like it might even be a little bit taller, which might be a problem. When we buy these units, we send them off to Mishimoto. I mean, not Mishimoto, Bisimoto. And they're supposed to machine something down to allow these to fit properly. So what we're going to do is try to get a measurement from end to end on these and see what we get. I don't know if my mic will bridge that, the one I have here. So, but let's give it a shot. I got. See if we can get some kind of measurement on this. Look at 145.14. Down there, and then we're going to take a piece of flat iron. In this case, we have a piece of level. That's a pretty good straight edge. And we're going to kind of set this across the top, and then we'll take a measurement and we'll deduct what that is, thickness. So what we're going to do is this. Yeah, this looks silly right now, but this will work for what we're trying to do here. It's 146.97. Let's write this down. 146.97.
145.14.
And then the other one was 145.14. This is OEM, and this is Quaife. So now what we want to do is zero this out. We're going to measure this ruler. 2 millimeters thick, exactly. So if it's 2 millimeters thick, this is going to come out to a 144.97.
So it's smaller?
Yeah. Well, it's just 2 millimeter. So that's 2mm, and we'll check it one more time just to make sure we got the right measurements. This is still not super accurate. $147.10. It's a little bit different this time. I don't have the right measuring tools to do this, so I'm improvising. Minus 2mm, so 145.60. No. 10. Dang close. Alright, so here we are over at the press. I know you guys can't really see me on the other side of this magic monster, but the one way everyone that I know usually does this is they'll stick this in the freezer, stick the bearings in the freezer, and as metal gets cold, it contracts, and the bearing should slide right on there and instantly set itself. But due to time, I don't have space in my freezer because I bought too much meat the other day, so we're gonna have to use the press. When you guys do this, you get this gear. We got a new gear here. You'll see that it's indented on one side. That faces the differential. The flat top goes on the side. There's only one way that this slot fits in there, so just go ahead and stick it in there. It's gonna wiggle a little bit. That's perfectly normal. And what we're gonna do, so in a normal situation, if I was working on like a tractor or something like that, I'd pack these bearings with grease. But because these will be lubed up by the lube in the transmission, we won't do that. So what we're gonna do is take a little bit of grease here on our finger. This is just like a lithium-based grease, but just to help press it on, we're gonna rub it on the inner race here. Okay, just get it nice and lubed up. You can put some lube on this guy, just a little bit, and just kind of stick your bearing on there for now. Use a little bearing race. Now there's different ways. I mean, you have ones that will fit inside. It's the wrong size. They'll fit down in there like that and press it on nice and straight. We're gonna try to get this one flush to the top. So we're gonna go ahead, and if you get a close look on the top, when you guys press this, only press this inner race, this portion right here. Do not put any pressure on the bearing shell itself. So when you pick a race size, you wanna make sure that it can go to the outside diameter of the race itself, but not press on this outer shell. So then we're just gonna go ahead, place the bearing on there, and we're just gonna kind of press it slowly and see how it goes. So this is the magic of Harbor Freight press. And we want to center this up as much as we can here. Get a nice even press. Alright, and then we'll just kind of slowly press her on there. If all goes well, it should just slide down. Hold on. Tighten it up. It's not doing anything. Here we go. It's kind of going on at an angle there, so we got to readjust. So what we'll do, actually, make this a little better, we're going to put the inner race on here so it goes flush, and then we'll switch over to this guy after. So I want this to go on straight as possible if we can. So this is that one that fits on the inner side. Okay. Now we're going to kind of position that down and start pressing again. It's wanting to kick over. So I think what we're gonna do is give her a little love taps on one end, get her straight again. Or what we can also do, since that's not gonna work out well, this video is starting off rough. That's on there, so what we're gonna do is get rid of the long shaft. We're gonna move everything up one notch, and then we're gonna press right down on this bushing there. So there she blows. And we'll push this down until it stops. So it stops there. We're gonna have to flip the race around. So we're just gonna let it go up a little bit. Pull this race out, put this race in, and we're gonna go, this will make it go completely flush. And when that stops, when we stop pulling on this, it'll be nice and done here. That's it. She's on there. Now we flip it around and do it again. And get a shot of that there. Boom. So nice and flush all the way around the way we like it. And that there is a nice bearing. So flip this bad boy over and do it again. Lube her up nice and nice. Nice and nice. Nice and nice. Okay, we'll lube that up. And then we'll stick the bearing on the shaft there. We're going to use the little race that sits inside to do this again, so that worked out well last time. So, and then we'll line that up as much as we can, and we want this to fall straight as we can. It just helps. Okay. There we go. That's pretty good. Okay. Sure you don't press on the outer portion of the bearing. And with these bearing races, it's nice because it just keep pumping until it stops, and then you're flush. Versus using something like a, there you go. Versus using something like a socket or something like that. Whereas a socket, this might not come out flush, but see, that is, you can't even hit that with your fingernail. It's perfect. So that is an easy way to press on some bearings for your differential. So let's jump back over to the bench and let's start getting this thing back together. Alrighty, we got our differentials. They're old versus new. First of all, I wanted to say something is there's a lot of stuff online on the internet and stuff like that that say that these Quaife diffs cannot handle over 350 horsepower and whatnot. Quaife, or any differential company for that matter, will not put a rating on their units as far as horsepower goes, but there's guys running these things in high horsepower cars. Here's the thing, my thing. Besides the internals, which are going to definitely be stronger than what a standard OEM setup is, this is like a cast unit, or I don't even know, it just looks brittle. This is made out of a solid piece of steel and machined out, so I can already tell you the casing on this is going to be way stronger than this bad boy. So I don't see this being any issues for what we're doing. I think this will last. We'll push this car that's going into probably to 500 horsepower or so, and I don't think we'll have any issues. This thing should last. So, but we got all the bearings on there. Before we put it back in, we'll drop some oil and everything on this and get it all lubed up. But for now, we're going to go ahead and get this old unit out of here, and we're going to put the plate back on the new unit. So, and what we're going to do while we do this is go ahead and take these out. We're going to put some red Loctite in here and crank them down with the air impact. What I'll do is I'll use the Matco, because I know it's 90 pounds. So I'll use the Matco, crank that on to 90 pounds on each one, and then I'll come back with the air compressor, because I'm not sure the torque on this thing, but I know it's over 90. And then I'll give it a snug up on each one with the air impact that's a little stronger. So that air impact goes up to 150 pounds. So, and it came off relatively easy with that. So I'm guessing these are about 100 to 110 pounds, I would think, is probably what it is. And if I can find it, I'll look it up. But anyways, let's go ahead and stick this on there. And if we did our homework right, it's machined, so it'll slide right on. Woo. Perfect. So let's just make sure our threads are good here. And we're just going to run around and put some red Loctite on all these, and we'll snug them up for now. So you don't need to put a lot, just a little dab on there, and drop her in the hole. All the seals, and what we're going to do at the end of the video is give you all the part numbers to everything we're using. So this is the seal that we're replacing right now. It's the input shaft seal. I haven't seen one of those go bad, but since we've taken it apart, it might as well replace it. We'll replace the axle seals as well. Those, we're going to have to press those in and out. So we got those. And then the bearings that we did use is the TimKens. I'm trying to find one. Here's one that has a good part number on it. So there's only two that this size. These go on the differential. So if you guys need these bearings, the brand is TimKen. They're a tapered roller bearing, and that's the part number there. Okay. So I'm trying to think of how the best way to get this out, the way this bearing's in here, and there seems to be like a metal race around it, so we're just going to try to tap it out. And I don't care if we destroy this bearing, and it came out that easy, because we're just going to press one back in it. So where'd it go? Here we go. So this is the old bearing. Probably still good, but like I said, we're already in here. And why not replace that? So let me change my gloves, and then we're going to go ahead and we're not going to use a press on this bearing. We're actually going to use a socket, and we're going to tap it into place. The hole is already pretty lubed up, so you don't have to worry about that. So on this bearing here, kind of get it in the hole, we're just going to press it in with our thumb at first. And then what we'll do is we'll press it all the way down in there with a socket. So what I like to do is try to find a socket that's about the same size, and we kind of just tap it all the way down until it's seated, and give it a little bit of love around the edges. Alright, and that's in there. So that is the new seal for the input shaft. And it looks nice and tidy in there. Alright, so next up we're going to change the axle seals. So the axle seals push out, and then we'll flip it over and push it in. There's a right side and a left side, and you'll see on these deals here on the side it reads transmission case side left. So this goes on the opposite case, so we're going to put this one on last. The one we're going to put on here is going to be this part number here, and this is the this is dire side seal, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, that's the right one. What we're going to use is, I don't know what I use this for. It's for bearings and stuff, but oh, it won't fit in the hole. So we got to find something else that we could push this out. This will actually work to install it. So I think what I'm going to do is just use a punch to get it out of there. You could use a press and stuff, but we'll just tap it out. This makes it easier than trying to get it all into the press and all that shit. So, all right, we got the old one out, and we'll put the new one in. So let's just flip this bad boy over, and the bearing will press right in there. Make sure any debris or anything are out. Got a little bit of a booger there. Okay. And this, just double check again. It's hard to see, driver's side or right hand side. And then these are also color coded, so this is side right hand. It's color coded blue, and this is right hand. So we're gonna go ahead and put that on there, and we're gonna put this ring around it. This fits right around perfectly the outer edge. And I use this little guy here, and then we're just going to kind of tap this into place. Get this outer edge here. Alright, and that's all there is on that. So the new axle seals in the transmission, and we're going to flip this thing back over and start reassembling the case, and then we'll push the other bearing on or after, but let's go ahead and orient this the way it was. Everything looks good in there, so we'll go ahead and clean up a little bit, get some of this casing stuff off, and then the way we do that, just I guess since I have your attention there. Alright, so what we'll do real quick is going to clean up all this old stuff, and what you want to do is take a razor blade. This one's kind of beat up, but we'll see if it works. You don't want to scrape it like this, okay? You want to go flat, vertical, and you're going to scrape across the surface. And avoid contamination. I'll get another blade here, but you want all this stuff out of the transmission. So when you scrape it, try to scrape away. Let me get another blade. So you can also get a rotary tool and clean around the edges, but I prefer not to do that because you get a lot of shit in the engine that way, or in the transmission for this sake. But lots of rags you can use, but I always like using these coffee filters. Get some of this old shit out of here. If we can use some assembly lube. Let me read the directions. Internal parts like bearings, camshafts, valve trains, pistons, rings, bores, bolt threads, similar parts. Also works in transmission, differentials, and driveline components. So what we're going to do is go ahead and put some of this red line lube everywhere. And all surfaces here. So it doesn't hurt anything to put lube everywhere. And then we'll also do we'll just kind of get some lube on the bearings. All right. Next step is going to be putting everything back together. So this is going to be tricky because it was a bitch to get out. So I think what we'll do is we'll stick this in first the way we had it. And then the next gear, these kind of go in together, but so that has to sit underneath, which is kind of a pain. So I think what we'll do is lift this up. And we'll get this bad boy. So what I want to do, I think what we're going to do is put a little bit of this lube on the inner side of this, just to lube it up a little bit. Yeah, this is like a hammer. Assembly lube.
This one here?
No, that's on the inside of the tranny. Okay.
Wiggle it out.
I don't know if there's. I feel like it should just slide right in there, huh?
It didn't slide right out.
Try to wiggle it. Is it jammed in there now? All right, hold on. Let me try to lift this out. comes out easy. Okay.
And try this again.
The bearing's gotta go under first. Go. Try to get yours to go in straight. Ah, shit. Okay, lift this up. Pull the ears out real quick. Sit it down. Or have you good?
Now we're good?
No, sit it down. I need you to try to get that out. How the fuck did I get this wedge? There we go. Okay. Okay, just sit it. Okay, this is not so easy. This is a workout. There we go. Lift both these cogs up. Ah, there we go. That's it. There we go.
Good?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good?
Yep. Okay. Whew. Put some grease on, assembly lube on here. Woo. So we got that into place. And we just kind of reinstall everything the way it was. Some blue Loctite. Thought we lost that bad boy. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, as we're putting this together, we're just gonna kind of clean the parts up a little bit if needed. A lot of the parts will have like a fine metal coating on it. It's almost like the gears. It's just got a metal in there, so clean all that shit out. And then just re-lube everything as we put it together. Put some lube on this and this stuff. So we'll run this for a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and take the transmission, or not out, but we'll replace the fluid, I should say, or flush the fluid out after a while. So just to get all this stuff out. So just a little dab of blue Loctite. We'll get these in here, and then we're going to torque these down to 25 pounds. £25. We'll start here. And it doesn't want to go 25, it's sketchy, so we'll just do 20. 15, 20 pounds. Seems to like 20. Okay, those are in. Next up, getting all those little fork doohickeys in there. So we're gonna slide this into place and go ahead and put the selector in there. that. Okay. And next up, we have, we used this one last time to go into this unit. Whoa. Just lube everything up to make it easier. And we're going to wiggle this in place. Just like that. Next up, this little guy, we got to, I don't know if you guys remember where we left off. We had that pin halfway out, so we're going to go ahead and knock this pin all the way out so we can put it back in the other side. So I'll hold that real quick. It's going to be kind of hard sitting here like this, but we got her. We got her. All right. So I think what we're going to do is get the selector here now. It's like playing a jigsaw puzzle here.
You suck at jigsaw puzzle.
Yep. So now we just get the roll pins back into place. Make sure all that little copper's in there. And then we'll just give it a little homeward touch. It's in there and it ain't coming out. So next up, get another one in. Do copper hammer is not a wise idea here.
Getting copper in there.
Yeah. This is where the other punch comes into play. This guy, so it seats it right in there. You see that? It's like a flint. It sparked the fire.
this is the sketchiest part to me. Trying to figure out how to. Seems super sketchy to do this. One more dangerous pin to put in here. This one should go in relatively easy. We got this gear just chilling in there, and this little guy is spring loaded, and this is what holds the gear up. So we're gonna go ahead and slide this gear all the way up. We're gonna slide this little fork piece over the gear and bend this down, and then that sits right there. And if you look on this side, that little ball joint goes in that little U groove there. If you can see that. So, and this bolt's just right here. So when we mount all the casings back together, we're gonna have to play with this unit here to make sure we get the threads how it's supposed to sit. Anyways, so let's tighten that down. And we're gonna torque these down to 18 pounds first. It's 18, and we'll just sneak it up to 20. And then okay. So everything's back to where we had it to begin with. Give everything a wipe down again, just to get all the shit off of it. And then what we're gonna do is kind of just look over everything, make sure everything's where it needs to be. We got the roll pins in, there's 4 of them. We got the selectors in, we got the rod shafts in, we got the bearings on there, bearings. Everything's torqued down on our LSD. So I think we're okay there. So next up, all we're really going to do from here is we're going to change the axle seal on the other case. And I'll clear off the space, we'll just do it right here. And then we're going to put some black RVT around the seam of the case. And then we'll go ahead and make sure we have enough assembly lube in all the bearing surfaces. And go ahead and drop this thing back in. It might take, we probably do a dry run putting it back together just to see where this thread goes and see if we can't manipulate this in the casing. Find out where that went, because honestly I don't remember. So yeah, that will be next. So I'm going to clean up all this mess, get the axle seal in the other side of the case, and then we'll be right back. So I'll clean that up. Oh, before we go, this was our magnet to get all the crap off the inside of the transmission. So we're going to go ahead and clean that off too. Try to get as much of that off as we can. Let's do it now. Killed it. That's it. Back to do right down the middle. The next step in the whole process is we're going to flip this over, take a gander at everything, and then we're going to have to make sure we got everything, all those fit right in there, slots. Okay. Next thing is going to be black RVT, but first I'll come over here. So we got this magnet that we cleaned up, and the magnet drops. There's a little slot right here. I don't know if you can see it. That's it. It just sits in that little slot. So I'm going to put this little thing back, and I have yet to figure out what this is, but we'll never know probably. Oh, you know what it is? No, it's not it. I thought it was going to be for the magnet, but it's in the wrong location, so no clue. So yeah, we'll just lube up all the bearings again, drop some black RVT, drop a bead around here so we can get a nice new bead on there. Clean it up a little bit. Doesn't have to be like super clean on this, so that life. Oops. side of this thing to put a little more assembly lube on the bearing housings here just so everything looks nice and lubed up. And then we're going to drop the case on top and crank down all the case bolts to 1,000 pounds of pressure, aka 30. Okay, just get all this lubed up here just so it's nice and lubey. Nice and lubey. That's what we want. All right, I don't know. I'll try to land this on the first try. And ready, set, go. Get your rubber mallet. Close enough. We're gonna get our little pokey. This hole over here is the reverse threads right here for the reverse bracket in this hole. Let me look in there. Yeah, so we just make sure we take this in there and line that up. Looks like so if you look in there, let me find a light. The only way you can get this in and out is if this transmission's in neutral. The way you find out it's neutral, see how all these bars line up? There's a one solid slot going through there. That's neutral. If one bar is up or down, you won't. Let me see if I can switch the gear. I switched it back into neutral. I can't. My fingers aren't strong enough to move it. Anyways, if it's like a key, like when you put a key in a lock, once you start shifting gears, these are all unaligned. So to slide this unit back in there, those have to be lined up, and the selector has to be in neutral. So let's go ahead and run around this case and drop all the case bolts in the outsides, and then we'll flip it over, put all the case bolts on the inside. We're going to lock all these down to 30 pounds. So I'm going to snug it up on one side, and then I'm going to hop over to this corner. And we're going to kind of jump around from corner to corner so these things sit and seal properly. We get a nice even seal with the RVT that we put in there. We do have a M56 CF31. So whoever it was that was asking me the other day, oh, Mr. Lim. So Mr. Lim is in Malaysia and a very smart guy. I get a lot of information. We share a lot of information over there on cars, on these cars in particular. In Malaysia, they don't have a lot of parts, so they end up using parts off of other cars such as Mazda and whatnot. Interesting note, he has, I forgot what car he has. I want to say it's like an i20 maybe, or i30 or something. But he asked me the other day
specifically, hey, what modifications do you have for the M56CF3-1 transmission? And that is the actual same transmission as what is used on the R-Spec, apparently, because here's the stamp right here. So, yeah, so those cars in Malaysia, even though he didn't have a turbo car, it's actually using the R-Spec transmission, which is kind of neat to know. So, a little fun fact. So we're figuring out a lot of the cool parts that are actually can work from a Mazda in our engines. So if you're still watching this video, that's a little nugget of information if you need cheap internal parts. So you're welcome. And thank you, J Lim. All right, everybody, we got down to the end of the limited slip install on this transmission. We got the case bolted up, was the last thing that you guys had seen. We thought we filmed the whole rest of it, but we had an issue with the camera, so we're just going to come back and touch every base on everything. Instead of tearing it all apart and starting over to where we left off, we're just going to explain a few things. So what you saw last was us bolting up the case. The next step in this process would be putting these 3 bolts back in. It has the ball bearing on the end of it. These hold the selector shafts, I guess I'd call them, in place, so they don't move around or wobble, or they just hold them in place. When you put these in, we have them torqued down to 40 pounds. I don't know the torque specs on this transmission, so 40 pounds seemed to be what they were when we took them off. So we put it right back to that. The sensor also has a ball bearing in it, so when you guys go ahead and put this in, because it's a sensor, I didn't want to torque it down too much, so we just did about 30 pounds on that. 30, 35 is probably good. You don't want to over torque that, and that's that. The selector switch is probably the biggest thing to cover, I guess. First things first is, same as when you pull this out, you want to make sure that this thing is in neutral when you put it back in. The easiest way to figure out if it's in neutral is there's a little half moon in this space right here that allows you to get your socket wrench on the 12mm socket on the nut there, or on the bolt. This is also happens to be neutral. So if your selector switch happens to be rotated in a way where you can't get this on that nut or that bolt, it's not neutral. So you want to make sure this is lined up to where you can slide that in there. That's neutral. When everything's in neutral, it should just slide right in. Sometimes it's a little tricky to get it in there. You got to wiggle it around. What you need to do, though, is put a bead of RVT around the whole surface of this, and then when it's in neutral, push the whole thing in there, kind of wiggle it around. You're going to hand start a few of these bolts and kind of try to tighten it down in sequence, or skip around a little bit to go down so it's even. When it goes in, it's a little bit tight. You almost feel like you're forcing it in there. So just go ahead and keep going, because it takes a little force to get in there. If for some reason you get it in there and the selector doesn't select or doesn't move, it's in there wrong, something's jammed, you're going to have to take these bolts out, wiggle it around, move it around, maybe take it all the way out, put it in neutral again, put it back in, until you get these. When these are down and you can actually move this selector switch around, then it's in there correctly. I'd say these probably about 25 pounds is good enough on this to torque those down. Other than that, just we put all the brackets back on this thing. This is not really pertinent to what we did as far as the LSD goes, but it's just they have to be there when you install the transmission back in the car anyway. So last step would be, and this again is not really pertinent to what we did with the LSD, but we put the throwout bearing and the throwout bearing back in it. So on this, it's just a few screws in there, or a few bolts.
3 to be exact. So on the inside here, you got your 3 12 millimeters. So basically you just kind of slide this on the shaft. This lever or whatever, this deal goes out the hole. Tighten those down. I think we did those 25 foot-pounds as well. And that's pretty much, this is pretty easy. I shouldn't even have to explain that. You guys, anyone can do this. When you pull it off, it goes on the same way. You can't screw it up really. One thing I like to do though, just to make sure that I didn't screw everything up, just grab your shaft, make sure everything rotates, no weird noises, nothing feels loose. Make sure your differential spins when you spin this. And that's pretty much it. So the LSD went rather smoothly on this. And if you guys decide to tackle this on your own, if you run into any problems or questions that you can't figure out in this video, or that's something we skipped or vaguely went over, just message us and we'll try to help you as much as we can. There's probably 1,000 LSD videos on how to install them on YouTube, but I know there's nothing for this transmission. But you can get, good advice from those as well. So, but anyways, that's it on this deal. So again, if you guys like what you see, please like our videos, subscribe. It helps us out, keeps us motivated to do these things. That's pretty much it. The LSD, everything we'll put in the description for you guys, so you can purchase that. One thing I want to address real quick is I get a lot of comments. The LSD is so expensive for this car. For my Honda, it's only $500. There's not a lot of these. Every LSD that we make for these cars or that are made for these transmissions are basically from another platform, and then we have to have Quaife put different splines in it. So they got to take that LSD apart, put new splines in it. We got to pay for those, put it back together. Then we have to go out and send it to another shop where they have to machine it to fit into the transmission housing. So that way you don't have to shim it and do all that. So you shouldn't really have to shim anything on this. It should just drop right in because it's machined for it. That is why the price on these things, believe it or not, is $1,600. So there's almost twice the cost of something you'd buy for a Honda. But that's it. Again, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a long one, I know. If you're still watching this, thank you for bearing with us, and I hope you learned something, or hope you learned something with us, and we'll see you on the next one. So appreciate all you guys. Thank you. See you later.